lockdown, you bastard!
Greetings, Cybertronians, I'm DrLockdown, and this video has been very long overdue. Yeah, this was supposed to come out quite some time ago, but then I ended up getting caught up in a whole bunch of other projects, and I kept filling the gap, and the legacy video kept taking longer and longer and longer, and then I was also supposed to release a behind-the-scenes compilation, but it just wasn't really working out, so I've cancelled it. And I waited so long that basically a 25,000 subscriber Q&A has turned into a 30,000 subscriber Q&A, which kinda happened for the last one as well. In fairness, I did try to record this twice, but the first time didn't work, and the second time I didn't record any of the audio. So, yeah, third time's the charm. Apologies if these questions are somewhat out of date, but I'll try to do them based on the best of my ability. We're getting this done. We're not leaving this in the past. We are going to do this. So to celebrate 10 years of DrLockdown reviews with the last 10th anniversary special thing, I really do like using that title card, but it's kind of time to move past it. And to celebrate 30,000 subscribers, let's answer some questions. Who do you want to be the next HasLab? Yeah, I really don't see Violent Jagger happening at any point. But personally, I could really take a proper Fortress Maximus. They'd never do that. They would probably do Metroplex first because, oh, the G1 is preferred Metroplex to Fort Max. But after how abysmal the Titan's Return one was, we really need an update. A Rail Racer would also be pretty cool, and that would kind of make sense in the HasLab price point, especially with all the combiners they're doing. I've seen some people say a Raiden, and it depends on how good Lio Kaiser is. I haven't really gotten him yet. I did order locally for this one, and us Aussies do get ours a lot later than Americans, so it's going to be a while before I can really get him in hand and behold him. But if Lio Kaiser turns out good, then I guess a Raiden would be nice too. But I do think we're set for another true blue G1 HasLab, because Hasbro is doing a lot of G1 shit at the moment, and this just feels like the perfect opportunity for them to do something like that again. Hell, they could bloody reissue Unicron, and I guess some G1ers wouldn't complain about that. I could see them doing it. I'm not sure I'd want them to, because I already have Unicron, and I already really like him, but I could definitely see them doing that. Do you or do you not plan to collect all of the primes from Age of the Primes? Yes, but mostly by accident. At this point, I've done most of them anyway, so in for a penny, in for a pound. Besides, I can always sell off the ones I dislike if I feel like it at a later date. But so far, I've only really disliked my Cronus. That's the only one I felt really disappointed by. The rest have been mid to pretty good. Quantas figuras TF Tienes? What does that mean? I'm gonna open up Google Translate. Oh, how many TF figures do you have? I don't have a complete knowledge because my spreadsheet is kind of incomplete. It only really goes back to 2018. Everything else is sort of half cataloged. But 2018 to present is sitting at a nice fancy 1,709 as of the 22nd of May 2026. I am dreading going back through my childhood and Combiner Wars and Titan's Return collections and cataloging everything. I've got to do it at some point. I've got to pick up where I left off, but I am dreading it. How did you learn so much about the process of making Transformers figures? Primarily just being around knowledgeable people who imparted more knowledge onto me. That and scrolling through TF Wiki, scrolling through the designer pages, looking at Takara interviews. I guess at the end of the day, it's just having an open mind and being open to listening. The information is out there, you just gotta take it all in. Best I the Somnium Files character. Of course, Court's Rules asked this question. After No Sleep for Kaname Date, it's gotta be Pewter. No character in the I series has made me cry on that level. None of them have had such a journey filled with pathos like that. Or at least one that I kind of get in the same way. Of course, No Sleep for Kaname Date is not a perfect game. It is very janky and weird with its plot. And it has way too much Ota in it, which is most of the I games to be sure, but that more than others. But even so, that storyline was very much worth it. What's your fave size class? Legacy specifically. For Legacy, I think it's the Deluxes that had the most variety. Voyagers were good too, but just with Deluxes, there were just so many good ones, especially with Evolution and United. So many cool and wacky things that they could have done, at least from personal preference. You ever wonder why we're here? It's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it? Also, hi Tiv! Favorite movie design? Crosshairs! I love dual guns and a trench coat. I fucking love that aesthetic. If it was in black, it'd be even better! How would you rank the SS-86 Dinobots from worst to best? If we're talking SS-86 specifically and not any of the redecos. Sludge is in last place because of those awful tolerances, like it just does not stand a lot of the time. Then Sloog because it's just kind of boring. Then Swoop, which is really fun and I don't get the hate for it. Snarl, which is even more fun with an even cooler transformation. But nothing beats Grimlock, baby. Just, that leader figure is just so good. So much fun, so simple yet effective. They really nailed it with Grimlock. Or Dream Transformers Anime. I don't know, just give it to Studio Trigger. They seem to know what they're doing. But really, at this point, I just want a solid Transformers show that takes itself seriously. And I don't mean in a super serious dark tone, I mean just has stakes and doesn't get thrown out by corporates. Not a filler show like Cyberworld. Cyberworld seems fine, but it is a filler show. It's just a fun slice of life take on Transformers with very short episodes. It's just not what I'm craving at the moment. Got a couple of questions asking about Aussie collecting, and well, there's a few different places. Unfortunately, general retail is pretty much a wash at this point. You're not going to find anything at Kmart or Target. Sometimes a Big W, but not very often. Even EB Games is kind of a wash. I do like going there for games, but when it comes to actual toys, they don't really stock anything aside from a few stores in the city. And if you want to get things, you have to pre-order them and their prices aren't great. So most of my stuff comes from three major sources: JB Hi-Fi, Gamesman, and King's Comics. I try to do King's Comics specifically because I have a membership that gets me a bit of a percentage off. And in general, it's a bit cheaper than JB Hi-Fi. But yeah, those sorts of places. And if you're looking for third party, well, that would be Show's eStore. Just, if you're looking for new third party, there's nowhere else you should really be buying from. They're just the best. Sometimes I get things from Bababobo, but otherwise it's basically Show's eStore. And for back collecting, well, eBay and Facebook, same old, same old. More eBay these days because Facebook has lost a lot of its good deals. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it. Which toy line is better, the Cyberverse Deluxe class line or the Earthspark Deluxe class line? Easily Cyberverse. Did you see how stupid Earthspark got towards the end? With so many mold reuses and so many deluxes that were just kinda eh. It had some great figures, don't get me wrong, but it was far from perfect. Whereas Cyberverse was the gift that kept on giving. What is your favorite depiction of Starscream? Earthspark Season 1. You get the great voice of Steve Bloom, but also a really cool look into his psyche. Plus a really nice design as well, one that I wish got a much better mold out of it. Can I be in the Q&A? Nope. How do you make videos and get views? Honestly, to this day, I have no idea. What is your favorite sport to watch or play? I don't like sports, I never have. It's just kind of boring. I don't have a favorite because the entire concept makes me fall asleep. Yes, I know, an Aussie that doesn't like sports. Blasphemous. Revoke my citizenship. I am a fake Australian. Have you ever found a poopy trap that actually catches poopy? Hi, honey. What are you doing? Honey, why? Honey! Hey Doc, did you know?
Classified information.
Yes, actually. Yes, I did. Do gap fillers and DIY upgrades affect transformation for certain figures? It depends. Usually you look at the listing and it'll tell you. I don't know why you're asking me this because I don't design these. If the Prime version of Breakdown and the Stunnicon had to exist in the same universe, which one would you rename and what would you rename them to? I wouldn't. People can have the same name. Do you know in my D&D group there's 2 Jameses and 2 Dominics, technically 3 Dominics if you count one that left the campaign a few years ago? People can have the same name and Transformers as well. I don't know why people get so fussy about that. Which is better, Autobots or Decepticons? The Decepticons usually get all the cool shit, so toy-wise, easily them. What's the normal amount of time it takes for you to make a video from concept to final product? Assuming you don't experience many or any hiccups along the way. It's honestly a bit difficult to kind of quantify that. Some videos are short and come out really quickly, but others take a really long time to come to fruition. I mean, just look at that monstrosity I just released a couple of months ago. It all really starts with me kind of thinking of ideas just as I'm going about my day-to-day. Then scripting takes however long. Sometimes it's linear, sometimes it's non-linear. Then basically it's record whenever I have the time, film whenever I have the time, edit whenever I have the time, and then release whenever I have the time. I am hoping to switch to a more regular upload schedule going forward because I've kind of got a big expense coming up that I need to save up. And one method that I've kind of found that would help facilitate that is just making more videos. I think now is the time to hunker down, just for a little bit. Not forever, but at least for the time being. But other than that, it really kind of depends. What do you think is the main problem of the Transformers Studio Series toy line? If you'd asked me about a year ago, I would have said the lacking paint, but nowadays it's just corporate fuckery in general. Cutting the budgets, less paint, less plastic, simpler transformations that don't allow them to be as fun? Having an entire year dedicated to G1 again? Yeah, sure, just let the show that saved the franchise fall to the wayside again. I used to really look forward to studio series releases, but now, especially with the most recent wave, I just find it some of the most frustrating figures that Hasbro's releasing. Especially f***ing Astro Train, like, come on. Who do you think would win, 1 Unicron-sized Grimlock or 100 Grimlock-sized wheelies? I don't think you got the question right. Will you do any collabs with other Transformers YouTubers? You can tell how long this took because previously I would have answered that question, yes, just watch the big video coming up, but that video has come and gone, and now I kind of just want to get back to doing my thing. Probably at some point in the future, but for now I just kind of want to get back in the groove of things. So not for the time being, but eventually yes. What figure that you've reviewed have you changed your opinion on the most since the original upload? The most would probably be Nitro Bumblebee from Dark of the Moon. I actually saw a cheap copy and rebought it to see if I could actually re-review it at some point, because the original review was quite terrible. And yeah, I do genuinely like it a lot more. God, there's a motorcyclist outside that is revving his engine for no goddamn reason. Just hurry up, I'm trying to record. He does this, like, every night, and I don't know why. Imagine if somebody has to wake up at, like, 3 a.m. and go to sleep at this hour. Come on. But no, re-engaging with Nitro Bumblebee, I was honestly surprised by it, and I don't know when I'm gonna re-review it, but it's definitely on the cards at some point. To be honest, the only reason I'm re-reviewing it is because the original was just so unnecessarily negative, I probably wouldn't review it otherwise, because I don't really have its own angle. Have you ever thought of being a voice actor? No, because I hate my voice. Do you think HasLab should still exist? I've been thinking about this question for a long time now, be it with molds being locked away from potential new fans, or with all the issues such releases can have, breakage and stuff. I just have the feeling that with every year, that it's more and more anti-consumer. I do actually think it should exist because in many cases, it's that or nothing. One thing a lot of people don't realize is that Hasbro did actually try to bring Unicron to retail. I've spoken with some people in logistics, and I know that they did try to sell it to Maya Australia at some point, and were flat out denied. And with most releases, they can't really do them or justify doing them in the way that they would. With Star Saber, there's not really a way they could do Victory Leo with a slot being opened, especially since neither of those can really be redecoed into anything else. Omega Prime is basically 2 commanders, and doing Ultra Magnus at a commander slot just wouldn't work considering how parts-formery he is. I mean, they could barely justify Jetfire, and he was 3 years later. What chance would Magnus have? And then Lyokais were just a flat nope, not even the name. Just the fact that there's so few Western fans, it just wouldn't work. Maybe it would work like a bunch of retools like King Poseidon did back in Generation Selects from Takara, but they already tried retooling Lyokaiser out of something else and it wasn't very good. The only commander that Hasbro has actively said could have been done at retail is Deathsaurus, and even then I don't think it could have been done as well if he wasn't HasLab. What I think HasLab should do instead is just follow the way the rest of the world does it. In most countries outside of America, it is not a Pulse exclusive. Here, you just go to EB Games or go to Sugoi Toys and you just put a down payment on it. And then you pay it off as the rest of the year goes on. If you're forced to pay the entirety up front, yeah, that's kind of terrible. But if you're not, if you only have to put $100 down payment, it's a lot more manageable. And I do think they should reissue HasLabs later down the line. I think G.I. Joe might have done it occasionally, but Transformers could definitely use it as well. Which one should they reissue? I don't really know, but just the concept should be there. Got a lot of questions about what I'd want Generations to make or what I'd want in a new figure of an obscure character. And really, the answer I had before is the same answer I have now. It's Stalker. Stalker remains one of my favorite G1 toys. It's sort of been dethroned by Raiden as my absolute favorite, but I still adore the figure and I'm still clamoring for them to make a new version. Like, I know there's the fans hobby version, but that's more of a Double Dealer homage. And I love their Double Dealer, but I love it as a Double Dealer. I don't think I'd like it as much as a Stalker. I'd honestly prefer them to just make a new Stalker at some point. And hey, Mark will get to do his Machine Wars Soundwave at some point too, so that would be a plus. How will you be celebrating your 10th anniversary of your channel? Yet another case where I left this video way too long because the evidence is right there. What's your favorite G1 episode gag? It's one that's very near and dear to my heart because my partner and I keep memeing on it. It's sort of become a vocal stim between the two of us. Have you ever found a booby trap that actually catches booby? Hi, honey. What are you doing? Honey, why? Honey! How did you start playing the saxophone? I was introduced to it back in primary school. An opportunity afforded itself to me back when I was trying to join one of the jazz bands. And from there, it just kind of spiraled out. I don't play as much these days. I'm trying to switch over to composition primarily, especially since a lot of the gigs I was getting I wasn't really happy with. But you know, I'll probably return to it at some point when I can do it on my own terms. What's your favorite design of combiners? The same as my favorite combiners in general, because I've mostly based my favorite combiners on the designs. It's a tie between Raiden and Lyokaiser. The two of those just look really good. I'm not going to answer the first half of this question, not because I've answered it before, but because I don't really have an answer. I've got so many Legends figures that it's really hard to quantify. But for the second half, what's your favorite company out of the big three Legends companies? If you'd asked me a few years ago, I probably would have said New Age, but they're kind of falling off the Hypertoon accuracy cliff that a lot of other companies are. New Age is sort of becoming fans' toys at Legend scale, and I'm not really a big fan of it. By comparison, Iron Factory has honestly been coming back with a vengeance. A lot of figures I'm getting from them these days are just way more fun than I could ever imagine. It turns out they were keeping the fun factor alive all this time, and I just didn't realize. So good on you, Iron Factory. Good on you for actually making Legends figures instead of scaled-down masterpiece ones. What do you think about Diaclona? She's a great reviewer. She honestly does a lot with a little and inspires me to better my own craft with what I have. The only thing is, what's your favorite pea-colored Transformer? That. What is the most expensive figure you've accidentally broken? That would be my friend's copy of TFCC Nacelle. I still need to fix it. I still don't know how to fix it, but I still need to. I promised him I would at some point, and I just cannot figure it out. In fairness though, the mold had degraded so much that it was basically falling apart. It's like unknown thing this figure does, so I don't know if it was entirely my fault. What is your favorite band? I don't have a favorite per se, but there are a few I've been listening to lately. In high rotation at the moment, I've got Underscores, Alan Parson Project, the new Thundercat album. I was listening to the Carpenter Brute album, but then I found out he made the music video and album artwork out of AI, so I kind of felt a bit icked by it. Don't use AI for album artwork. Just don't use AI. The new Tigran Hamasyan album's pretty good. Been getting into a bit of Vara, and I found this other artist as well recently called Elysia. Don't know how to quantify a lot of these genres per se, but those are my kind of picks at the moment. My playlist just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and I keep adding shit to it. Can you give a few tips on starting a Transformers related channel? Now, while I can't really say anything in relation to stop motion as it's not my kind of forte, I can say one thing that I've always lived by. Steal ideas. Make a list of all the things you like from other YouTubers, like, oh, I like the way this YouTuber does this. I like the way that YouTuber does that. And start by emulating those. Eventually in the process, you will find your own style. People will suggest things to you, or you'll come up with ideas on your own. But you do need a foundation of what works initially. And beyond that, the golden rule is audio quality trumps video quality. It doesn't matter if your videos look amazing. If the audio is terrible, people will just assume it's amateurish. Make sure you get yourself a good microphone and learn how compression works. Really that simple. If you're into Pokemon, which one is your favorite? Giratina. I have always loved Giratina in both forms. I even managed to shiny hunt one recently in BDSP. I've actually been going back and replaying a lot of the older Pokemon games, starting with Emeralds, which I've never actually played before. I don't know, Winds and Waves kind of has me potentially excited in future Pokemon. My gut feeling is saying it's gonna be better than the last few generations, which I just did not care for and skipped over. I don't know, I've got a good feeling about this one, so I've decided to go back and play at least Gen 3, Gen 4, and Gen 5. I don't know if I'll bother with 7 and 6. Yes, I'm saying it in that order very deliberately, but even so, Giratina remains my favorite. What is your absolute fact all-time favorite figure in your collection? Don't have one. I love different figures for different reasons. I don't think there's one figure I can point to and say, that's just the most amazing thing ever. I used to be able to say that when I was first starting out, but I've got over 1,800 figures. How could I pick one of them? What is your favorite Transformers show? Again, similarly to my favorite figure, I don't really have one. They all do different things really well. I feel like I've got to engage with the media a lot more than I have, because I've engaged a lot in the toys, but the media I'm just sort of like, oh yeah, that's kind of just there. One day I'd love to go through every piece of Transformers media, you know, rank it or whatever. Do like a big series of the whole thing, but that is way off. I feel like I need a proper set to sit down and record in, and that's definitely not happening while I'm living here. Do you have a favorite Lockdown figure? If so, can you do a proper review of said toy? My favorite is the Unique Toys version. It looks amazing, yet it's so simple and fun to transform. And yet, I can't review it because I have have nothing to say. If I don't have anything to say about a figure, I'm not going to make a video about it, because that would be very, very boring. I'm not the kind that just reviews everything or just reviews what's popular. I gotta have an angle, and if I don't have an angle, then I just don't bother. When you imagine Megatron's alt mode, you picture Megas as a gun, a tank, or another of his alt modes such as his T-Rex form. I'm not really going to answer the second half of that question because the first half is kind of moot. I don't think that there's one way you can interpret Megatron's alt mode. I know that the franchise tends to focus on tanks specifically these days, but one of the cool things about Megatron is he can be anything. He can be a T-Rex, he can be a helicopter, he can be a Batmobile. He can be so many things, and to limit him to just one design, I think it's a bit, well, limiting. But of course, G1 synergy and the gun is the closest to tank, so that's what we're stuck with these days. Who is your favorite and least favorite Prime? That is super easy, and I've even done reviews on both. Seriously, it's not even a contest. Who is the best Seeker in your opinion, and which version in particular? Acid Storm. I just love that deco. I've always loved the neon green, and if it's got a camo deco, well, that's even better. We stan this gender fluid icon. Close second, of course, would be Action Master Thundercracker. What was the figure that made you think, wow, that's a major downgrade? I mean, being in the franchise as long as I have, there's quite a few I can think of. A recent example is pretty obvious, but going back, probably the jump between Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction. Just seeing the quality of the figures go down in real time with them turning out so cheap, it really stung. Like, we went from this to this. I'm not saying this is a bad figure, but just... why? Some people have a collection within their collection of all the toys of a particular character. I was wondering, do you have that sort of special collection, and who are you collecting? Might sound weird, but it's Laser Prime. I'm honestly gunning to get every single version of it, both official and third party. There's still plenty I need, but I think the hardest ones I've kind of covered. It's just those fun pub ones that scare me. And yes, this does mean that I got Mechagodzilla Prime, although I'm not going to point and laugh at it. I actually quite like it. Is it a good representation of Mechagodzilla? Not really. But as a Laser Prime redeco, it's probably one of the best we've gotten. At least from the Legacy deco. Interestingly, got a few questions asking me to rank all of the movies. I know I'm sort of breaking my rule of answering things I answered last time, but there have been a few new movies since then, so yeah, it's fine. Now, this is going to be very controversial because this is purely a biased list. Bottom of the list, Age of Extinction, you know why. Well, that's not the only reason. It's just the only Transformers film where I feel it's insulting you for watching it. I don't like to be insulted while I watch a film. And I guess Last Night does that as well, but at least it's so bad it's good. I can get enjoyment out of The Last Night that I just can't get out of Age of Extinction. And above that, we've got Rise of the Beasts. It's a fine movie. I mean, it was cool to see a bit early, go to the premiere and everything, but as a movie, it's just kind of disposable. Go watch the Paper Plane video. You can see a much better analysis than I could ever give. After that, TF07. Yes, controversial. I've really come around on this film. I really learned to enjoy it a lot more in recent years. It is probably the most film out of any of the Michael Bay movies, but in terms of what I look back on, it's just not one I have a lot of nostalgia for. It's a film I saw on DVD when I first got into Transformers, whereas the other ones I saw in cinemas, so I kind of have more nostalgia for those. Speaking of Revenge of the Fallen, it's a terrible movie, but I love it. It's just such a blast. Just that whole era of Transformers is just something else, and I just look back on it really fondly. Above that, Bumblebee. I know a lot of people have soured on this film, but I think it's a really sweet one. It's a bit by the numbers, but it's very cute and a very fun watch. Above that, 86. Yes, I still love this film. I watched it on VHS as a kid, and I've seen it in cinemas recently. Yeah, I know that's so I didn't see it in cinemas, so no nostalgia, but I watched the shit out of this one as a kid, and I still love it. The animation and soundtrack alone are delightful. Above that, Transformers 1. It's great. Everybody knows it's great, and honestly, the more I watch it, the more I like it. I think when I first watched it, I was a bit scared that it was just a fluke, that it was just okay and I was getting overhyped about it, but no, it really is that good, and I really do appreciate it. But nostalgia-wise, nothing's beating Dark of the Moon for me. That is just peak Transformers for me. It was the last big franchise moment before I kind of dipped out and took a break. It's the final element of my childhood Transformers journey, and I'll always appreciate it. Are you looking forward to 86 Devastator? Another case where I left this video way too long. I have completed him. He is awesome. If you were put in charge of making the next Transformers show, what form of animation would you choose for it? I would choose 2D animation, and I would just give it to Studio Trigger. They really want to do a show. They keep referencing Transformers. That anniversary video literally had me in tears, and yes, I know a lot of it boiled down to, oh look, the thing, it's the thing! But they know what they're doing with adaptations, and I really feel they could do this franchise justice. If nothing else, they would actually take the project seriously instead of just making it as filler. Hasbro and Paramount have just got to stop making projects that are another Transformers project. They've got to make the next Transformers project. And I'm really sick and tired of it. Would you be interested in gimmicks returning to the post-Generations lines? No, but not for the reason you think. It's not just because I really like articulation or because I don't like gimmicks. Because I really do like articulation, but I also like gimmicks. But the current climate just doesn't allow for them. If you put gimmicks in a figure, they're going to be cheaper everywhere else. Or they're going to be absurdly expensive. So if it's a choice of a figure being good or a figure having gimmicks, which very much the current climate is, I'm gonna choose a figure being good. Yes, lights and sounds are fun, but the only way to do them at any reasonable price is basically the way LEGO did them. With the smart play that still costs absurd amounts of money and just the rest of the sets end up super hollow. We're long past the period of gimmicks, it just isn't feasible these days. What's your favorite obscure Transformers character?
Here comes the boy.
What is your utmost favorite line of Transformers figures? From Diaclone to Action Masters to MPG and SS to Wild King. That is easy to pick, especially after I spend so much time talking about it. Like, you might just look at the video I released and say, oh wow, that's a big effort. But I was living Legacy for basically a year and a half. That's how long that video took to make, and I still loved Legacy through every minute of it. I get tired of a lot of projects I'm working on, I just want them done and out of my mind. But Legacy almost felt sad to let go of. It felt like a portion of my life was finally being left behind, and it was almost melancholic. That's the mark of a really good toy line. Legacy was just something I don't know if they'll ever overcome. Do you like Legacy Skullgrin? I do. He's janky, and I kind of prefer the Cybertronian Trooper from G2 that the Buzzworthy line gave us. But I do like Skullgrin. He's fun. Do you think SS86 will ever end? Or do you think they will keep making figures of characters who appeared on screen for 5 seconds? Can you tell how long this video was made ago? Can you tell? Can you tell? And no, I don't think 86 is ever ending, unfortunately. They're gonna milk it for all it's worth because it's G1 and G1 never goes away. Christ, it's not even G1, it's just 84 to 86 G1. They won't even do the cool shit. I'm still waiting on a Stalker and they just keep going back to the tune. Please. Bunch of questions about me getting into metal cardboard and other adjacent transforming robot franchises, and I was gonna answer this here, but I stupidly made a short about it, which basically explains my whole mental blocks towards the thing. I'd love to, but I just can't bring myself to. And it's kind of annoying, to be honest. How would you continue the Nightverse? I wouldn't. They're kind of done. In fact, I don't even think these two films are that connected. Yeah, no, that kind of thing is just dead in the water. I know Paramount wants to continue it, but I genuinely think the only way for the movies to succeed is a full reboot. Fully stylistic change so they don't look like anything from any previous films. New cast, new actors, new directors. Yes, Transformers 1 was supposed to be that, but that failed, so we need a new attempt. I don't know why people keep asking me about story advice. I'm not good at writing stories. I'm good at reviewing toys and barely making music. I'm not good at this shit. I'm not good at franchise decisions. I'm not the media YouTuber. I'm the engineering YouTuber with shit tastes. That's why I rarely do Diagnosis Insanities anymore. Who's the most puntable Decepticon in your opinion? Hi, Firebite. That would be Armada Unicron. It's a sphere so you can kick it really easily. Though if we're taking Transformers adjacent media and we're ignoring the Decepticon qualifier, we know who the actual most puntable character is.
You're gonna get this big gremlin outside.
Which video are you most proud of making? I mean, I think that's pretty obvious, considering I spent a year and a half working on it. What's a relatively obscure interest of yours that you can talk hours about? Xeno series. I love Xenoblade. Xenoblade 1 Definitive Edition is my favorite game of all time. I love all of the Xenoblade games. I love Xenogears. The only ones I haven't really tried are the Xenosaga trilogy. I'm eager to get back into that, although time is definitely a thing. But yeah, I love the Xeno series of games, and there is one video I kind of want to make on it eventually, which I know will do terribly, but this is just purely for me. But yeah, if I wasn't a Transformers YouTuber, I'd probably do stuff on Xenoblade. I just love it that much. Oh no, look at that! We've actually got a question about Xenoblade right now! My favorite song is easily the McConus Field theme. Just something about it just works really well. I don't know, just the layering of all the music, the change in the story, the fact that things are finally starting to click together when you finally get there. It's one of my favorite areas as well. And it's one of the few songs in the Definitive Edition soundtrack that I don't don't think did the original justice. Which, you know, given my nostalgia for the song, is a bit annoying, but still, the rest of the soundtrack is an absolute banger. Did you ever get your hands on a figure thinking you'd have a lot to say about it, only to end up without much to show for it? Honestly, all the time. Usually I buy figures based on what I like, and then I just make videos based on that. But there are a few occasions here and there where I genuinely thought I'd have enough for a full review, and then I just didn't really. There's honestly too many to count, to be honest. Although, at the end of the day, if I'm being 100% honest, I usually have the problem of not having enough time to do the ideas I do have more than not having ideas to begin with. Have your thoughts on RWBY changed ever since your genlock video that you did 6 years ago? I haven't kept up, so I can't say. I heard it kind of went to shit, then I heard it got cancelled, so I kind of left it. And I've deliberately not watched genlock because apparently afterwards it got really bad. And I kind of want to preserve my positive memories of the first one. Kind of the same way I feel about Earthspark. I don't really want to go on with the rest of it because I know it'll be disappointing and kind of tarnish my experiences with the first season. Does this question count? No sheep wielder. No, it doesn't. Should we get more Fire Truck Optimus Primes, either past designs or new ones, in the coming years? Absolutely. Do I think we'll get them outside of HasLab Omega Prime? No, because Hasbro seems intent on keeping everything G1 and having the flat-nosed truck nowadays. But honestly, I'd love Optimus Prime to be expanded into other types of truck, not just fire trucks, just a whole bunch of different trucks in general. In fact, to be honest, I kind of think Optimus Prime should try some other alternate modes at some point. But I don't think the rest of the community is ready for that argument yet. These two questions are kind of the same answer, and it's gotta be G1 Raiden. I mean, there's nothing really crazier than wanting a G1 Raiden for so many years, and then a fan reaches out and says, hey, I've got one, and I will give it to you, and all you have to do is review it. And then not only being able to own such a beast of a figure, but also being able to go as in-depth as I was able to, doing all of those comparisons, it's still honestly a highlight of my career. Can you really call this whole thing a career? I'm not really sure. I don't know what the f I'm doing. But Raiden really holds a special place in my heart, and I'll never forget that. Thank you again, Bakuop, for making this happen. What would you like the next 10 years to look like for your channel? I'd honestly really like to, and I do plan to really reinvigorate the format of my reviews. Not really in how I approach figures, but definitely in the sort of style. I've been doing the same old shtick for 10 years and only incrementally improving, and I feel a shake-up is needed. I am speaking with other people about a full rebrand and all of that jazz. Thinking about composing a new intro song, thinking about doing a soft reboot of the channel. We'll see. It was supposed to be late this year, but it's sort of been pushed back to January. Stay tuned though, there are some great things in the works. What Gestalt do you think Hasbro will make after Bruticus? My money's on Defensor. My money's on Defensor as well. I would have said Predaking because I did hear they were kind of working on a Predaking, but now I'm hearing a lot of conflicting information. But given they're trying to do all of the main Autobot combiners, Defensor kind of makes sense, and I am a little bit disappointed because he's my least favorite of the bunch. But I guess he's the only one that's left, and hey, I got my Lio Kaiser, so I should be happy about that. So I don't really need to complain that much. Personally, I'd love for them to do some more interesting Gestalts, but you know, G1 cartoons, so of course they gotta do Defensor, and of course they're gonna do Predaking at some point too, so I guess that makes sense. Who's a character that you'd never thought would get a figure, but they ended up getting one? Honestly, it's one of the recent Studio Series listings, IDW Nautica. We don't know what it's gonna look like at the moment, but just the fact they're doing it is honestly insane. And it's a figure I am very much excited for. I really should get back into reading IDW. I've got the whole thing legally on Humble Bundle, and I just need to read it. But I also got to get through the Marvel Comics continuity, and I'm also very busy at the moment. Finding time for anything these days is difficult. But yeah, so glad we're getting a Nautica. That is so peak. If you could make any one bad figure good, what figure would you most want to actually be good? I think thinking back, Earthrise Double Dealer. The G1 design is so good, and just to have the Earthrise one fail so miserably, and that basically be the only Double Dealer we get, it's just so disappointing. I just wish it could be done better. We were so close to a brilliant Double Dealer, and now this is all we have. And we're not getting another one for the next foreseeable future. Is not a G1 cartoon regular that a lot of G1ers go crazy for. It's basically Earthrise and you will be happy and f you, which really disappoints me. Do you feel we're entering a sort of poor era when it comes to media or lack thereof surrounding the franchise? Honestly, we've been in a poor media era for quite some time. I keep coming back to this idea and I almost made a diagnosis insanity about it. But Transformers has a media problem, and the problem stems from one thing. Transformers wants to make the next project. They don't want to make the Transformers project. They don't want something big and bold that will become the face of the franchise. They want a revolving door of smaller projects that just happen to exist. And it's really frustrating because everything that could have done really well gets downgraded or cancelled outright or sabotaged, and it's just, we need a big, bombastic project that brings new fans in. Not smaller projects that just keep the current fans happy. And it's been a thing for the past decade, and I'm honestly quite sick of it. Do you think we'll be getting an animated universe Black Arachnia, official or 3P, anytime soon? Nope. Unfortunately, as far as Hasbro's concerned, I think Beast Wars is their kind of animated Black Arachnia. I think they would consider the two far too similar. Which I don't agree with, but I can see corporate being like that. And I just don't see animated being popular enough in China specifically to warrant a third-party version. One thing a lot of people don't realize is that third-party has to sell primarily to the home field. They're manufactured in China, they're sold at Chinese retail, so they have to market themselves to that. It's why Mastermind Creations has really slowed down on the RDW stuff. There's not a lot of stuff there that's really that popular. And why we keep getting Age of Extinction Optimus Primes, but only recently have gotten the original trilogy. It's the same reason that Hasbro won't do a whole bunch of Japanese Transformers, or Takara won't make a bunch of Euro G1 Transformers. It's just not the market it's going for. If you had to choose the next collab figure from these two options, what would you pick? Skibidi Toilet or Tesla? Skibidi Toilet because it's not fascist. What unconventional vehicle mode would you like to see on a Transformers figure? It's never gonna happen, but honestly, the Sydney monorail would be awesome. Just for the meme. I do actually miss the monorail. I know it was kind of just a tourist trap and everything, but I'm sad I never got to ride it again. And it leaves these big gaps in the building that just kind of feel weird. What's a figure you really want to like, but it's just dog shit? Oh, he'll get his day in the sun soon enough. Where do you typically get non-Hasbro figures from? Takara stuff, usually on eBay for third-party Shozi store. Do you think Hasbro will ever give us a new Clench or anything new Euro G1? It's looking a bit more possible with the new Age of Evolution line, but not for a bit, I'd say. I think Clench is an eventuality, but not for the foreseeable future. And when we do get a Clench, it'll probably be a redeco of something. Surprisingly got a few questions about what I want from a Transformers crossover with the Xenoblade. And honestly, I kinda don't. Aside from the fact it's just never going to happen, most crossovers kinda suck. Like, one, what would they actually cross over with? What vehicles are there from the Xeno series that would really translate to a Transformer? Most of the really cool stuff is mech or mech adjacent, which they're already robots. Why would you change that? And then you look at the track record of a lot of crossover figures, and it's just not very good. There are exceptions. I am so glad the Hot Wheels Transformers are doing really well now. But like, until we get to that point, there's just no real reason to. I like Transformers because I like Transformers, and I like the Xeno series because I like the Xeno series. I don't really need the two to mush together, personally. Waffles or pancakes? Pancakes simply because it's harder to f*** up. A good waffle is really fucking good. But pancakes are just something else. And even pancakes are still edible. What's your favorite Transformers collab figure you've gotten in your collection? That one's a doozy. It's easily MP10 Evangelion Optimus Prime. Just that thing remains sexy as f*** to this day. And I'm still honestly shocked I was able to get it at such a decent price. It was a grail for me for the longest time, and it still is one of my favorite figures in my collection. Like, honestly, as cool as the new Evangelion figures look, it's not gonna top that for me. It's one of the best Optimus Prime figures on the market. Yes, a bit dated, but still one of the best. With the best deco it has ever featured. And I am so glad to have an official version. Like, not a knockoff, but an actual one. Honestly, a pet peeve of mine is that a lot of unofficial Evangelion convoys just kind of f*** around with a deco, desaturating the purple and adding too much orange in there, and that's not what it's supposed to look like. And now that's what everyone thinks it looks like. No, it doesn't look like that. Do the design properly, please. Would you have played Transformers Reactivate if it wasn't deactivated? Probably for a video, but not much beyond that. I'm just not that big into live service games. Like, I'd happily accept a sponsorship from some of them if they were actually good, but actually playing them myself, I fundamentally just prefer single-player experiences that have a start and an end, not kind of endless stories that just keep going and keep going and keep going. There's not a lot of live services I would have properly played, and Reactivate, for everything I've heard about it, just seems like it wouldn't be for me. Especially because I'm not really that big into shooters either. I like a bit of Splatoon, but that's about it, really. And even then, I haven't played that in a very long time, although to be fair, I haven't really played much aside from Pokemon Emerald recently. If you could pick one of the older SS figures to get a remake, who would it be and why? Much as I love a lot of the listings of the new Studio Series figures we're getting, the biggest one that I feel needs a remake is Barricade. That deluxe is just terrible. It just it needed more to it. Like, come on. It's like my #1 want for a remake. A lot of those figures don't need remakes, but he absolutely does. Why don't you like the G1 Sunbow charts for Transformers? Because it just seems like the metric that a bunch of collectors use to overwrite every other metric of Transformers. Like, forget if a figure is good, forget if it's built well, forget if it's fun, forget if the alt mode holds together well, it just has to be the right height and accurate to the source material. It just stems from this whole thing that accuracy goes above everything else, when I don't even feel accuracy is a positive. Accuracy is a neutral metric for me. It's just kind of a thing a figure can do or choose not to. There are so many great figures that people will just ignore because, oh, it's the wrong height. Like, scale obsession in general is just an annoying concept to me. Oh look, I'm enjoying my Legends figures, now let's listen to a bunch of people wish it was upscale to chug scale or masterpiece scale, because apparently Legends can't be its own thing, apparently it can't stand on its own 2 feet. Apparently everything has to be the scale they wanted to, and if you don't like that, f*** off, I guess. I don't mind the Sunbow chart in itself, but when that's the only thing people insist a figure be judged by and try to devalue your own opinion because of it, yeah, not really a fan. Oh, hey Delta, what's an aspect of the content creation process that you wish the audience understood more about? Researching. Like, people are just like, oh, this is this because that is that because that. Like, no. We live in an age where information about these figures is more readily accessible than ever before. The designers are very open about who works on what and the corporate restrictions that are placed on them. The advent of the internet means you can look back at TF Wiki and see why things are the way they are. And you can still like or dislike figures on top of that, but just please research. Yes, I'm guilty of this too. I get a lot of these things wrong, but at least try to put some research into why figures are the way they are before you just make a blanket statement. Got a couple of questions about Vaughn, and yeah, he has kind of been moved to the background, and that is on purpose. I don't know, I got a few complaints, and after those I did some soul searching, and Vaughn doesn't really serve a purpose anymore. He was sort of a way for me to bounce off fandom criticism in a sort of humorous way, and I don't really need to do that anymore. I'm more of a confident person. I can kind of stand on my own 2 feet now with my own opinions. I don't have to put them in this humorous way. So the character is basically retired, but I do have a final send-off that will happen with him. And again, that's sort of going to be in the format change in January. Until then, I want to kind of hammer out some other reviews and get back on the grind, I guess. But when that change does happen, that'll be his final episode. I figured I had to do something with him in the Legacy video, so I kind of put a little cameo at the end there. But other than that, he's kind of done. He's a relic of a former time, and I don't feel I really need to do something like that again. Do you have a personal favorite Shattered Glass character? I'm not that big into Shattered Glass, I'm more like the decos, so one of the decos that I like that's repurposed is the Action Master Thundercracker redeco. It's not really Shattered Glass, it's more Action Master, but I guess just by default, because I really like that deco, I really like that figure. Do you think there may be a chance of us getting more of the animated Stunticons should Hasbro choose to make the molds they're based on? I, for one, would absolutely love a new toy of animated Drag Strip, or hell, any of the BotCon toys. Nope, I think Motormaster was one and done, mostly because it would probably clash with the Legacy ones. I love animated Motormaster, and I would love a full set of animated Stunticons, but I just don't see them doing that. It's fantastic we got it, but I think that's just a one and done. A way filler that they just put in there because they could, and because Mark's like, oh, this is a really cool idea. They can't do everything, and I think if they were to do more Stunticons, they'd just do redecos of the G1 ones. Because G1. In terms of official LEGO sets, we've gotten Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, and of course Soundwave by the time this video's come out. What character would you like to see LEGO make next? Honestly, I'm a bit over the whole LEGO thing. The Bumblebee parts forming thing really kind of killed my interest. And Soundwave's still going back on the articulation because it's meant to be a statue is just, And something tells me the next LEGO Transformer is going to be extremely expensive. It's probably going to be something simple like Megatron, and it's probably going to be really expensive for what it is compared to the previous ones. So I don't really feel like I need any more LEGO Transformers. I'm going to still try to get Soundwave at some point, but it's less of a must at this point. Do you prefer super robots, real robots, or somewhere in the middle? I like both. Both can do really cool things. It's interesting Transformers hasn't really gone for the real robot aesthetic until, I guess, Overgear? I know some people consider the movieverse real robots, but that's more Hollywood than real robots. Overgear is like the first foray into real robots, and I'm very excited for it. What's your opinion on how Transformers is going as a franchise, like movies, shows, and toy line? Toys seem to be declining with a lot of budget, movies and shows are kind of in the gutter, and I really wish the comics would stop trying to force everything into it. It should just be Transformers. The other franchises seem like they're just piggybacking off Transformers' success, and I don't know, Kirkman's run has really killed a lot of my interest for it. He does great on Void Rivals, but for Transformers itself, I don't know. Feels like he just threw everything I liked about the previous comic out the window. We're not in a low point, but we are in a bit of a lull. So watching your recent video, I believe you mentioned having a partner. How did you meet? We were both part of the University Queer Collective, and then somehow I got asked out. And yeah, we've been going strong a full year. Still hopelessly infatuated with each other, and still hopelessly autistic at every single point. The funny thing is, apparently we've been mutually crushing on each other for at least 6 months beforehand. I didn't think I could ask here out because, you know, that's not how that works. You don't ask your crush out and it doesn't actually work. And Z was not gonna ask me out because Z was Demi and didn't realize it was a crush. And then it kind of just happened from there. Life is hilariously funny sometimes, in the best of ways, in the most heartwarming of ways. I don't know how we got here, but I'm very happy we did. What BotCon figure or rare figure have you been searching for a while? I brought this up in my Grails video, but the be-all end-all is Camo Blackout. This will likely be a figure that takes decades to get unless someone happens to stumble across this video and say, oh, I'll send you one. I mean, weirder things have happened. But yeah, it's not even a cost thing. It's just the way it is. Do you think Starscream and the Seekers will get a new mold? And if so, when do you think they'll do it? And in which line? And what would you want this Starscream to ideally look like? Can you tell this video was delayed by a ton? Do you think the original animated Beast Wars series deserves to be reanimated with the quality of a modern production? Nope, no I don't. Beast Wars still holds up really well. The animation is still really good. It's simply the texturing and lighting that look very jank. And that doesn't need to be updated. Animation is not like video games getting remastered. You can just go back and watch it. It's still a good show. If you find the art style a bit jank, it will take a bit of getting used to, but you will eventually get used to it. Honestly, y'all in general have to start getting into older media across the board. I'm so glad I'm part of OVA Hail now because it's exposed me to so many series that I just wouldn't have experienced otherwise. You don't have to watch the newest thing, the newest hotness. You don't have to engage with the zeitgeist so closely. You can go back and engage with older media. It's fine. It's fine. Who's your favorite minibot? Glyph. Why don't we have a Glyph yet, Hasbro? Give us a Glyph. It's been what? How many years since the unification era started? 2018? 2019? Almost a decade? And yet you're reissuing Bug Bite instead? Give us a Glyph, you cowards! Which Age of the Primes figure, shown or leaked listing, are you the most excited for? Well, we've only really got one wave left because I've left this so long, but honestly, it would have to be G2 Wild Rider. I just really want the G2 Stunnicons done. I love those decos and we're so close. And yet they just keep taking their time. Once that's done, really it's just one left. So come on, give us Wild Rider and then finish off with Motormaster. I need the G2 Stunnicons, please. And then in Age of Evolution, I'm way more excited about a whole bunch of other things as well. But the question is purely Age of the Prime, so that would be that one. Got a couple of questions asking about why I picked the name Dr. Lockdown, and to be honest, I didn't really pick it. Yes, I've answered this question in the last Q&A, but people are just gonna keep asking, so I guess answer it again. It is a name that just popped into my head while I was running on the treadmill. That is basically the gist of it. I then kind of tried the idea out of doing Transformers reviews when another project I was working with fell through. And then Dr. Lockdown became the main thing that took off. Not everyone really manages to pick which name they start out with, and yeah, this was kind of the case for me. And I mean, hey, it was certainly better than the original name I came up with. Yeesh. What is your favorite Transformers design era? If we're not talking toy quality and just design, honestly, I would probably say the Unicron trilogy. Just so many cool designs that I really want to go back and enjoy. A lot of the toys are jank, but just that perfect balance of realism, toyetic aspects, colors, anime focus. It was just a perfect blend of so much. And you can see a lot of influence in that era in the, well, Unification era. A lot of the mechanical detail in the Unification era is very similar to the Unicron trilogy. So design-wise, easily the Unicron trilogy. What do you think is the worst video that you've made? That would be an easy answer. Years and years and years ago when I was first starting out, YouTube did that thing where they upped the requirements to get monetized. It went from like 200 subscribers and a certain amount of watch time to 1,000 subscribers. And I was just on the cusp of getting paid 30 cents a month. And I made a rant video, and that rant video has long since been deleted. I don't like to delete a lot of videos because it's part of my history, and I feel cutting off that history is cutting off part of who I am. But I did make an exception to that because that was just so cringeworthy. I'm not happy with that video at all. There are other videos that I've felt have not worked, but I've all cancelled those. So in terms of videos that just flat out did exist, that would be it. Do you think they should have done actual repaints before doing the Nest repaints? Yes, absolutely, but for some reason, Studio Series seems allergic to repaints. Everything's got to be accurate to something else, which, yeah, I guess is the kind of point of it. But it does feel like a double standard when all the G1 figures get redecoed in other lines, but none of the Studio Series ones do. Like, just do one of those More Than Meets the Eye collection things, but for the Movieverse releases. I'm still waiting on a Nightwatch redeco. Like, come on already. Are you a Slingshot person, or do you prefer Alpha Bravo? While I do prefer Alpha Bravo overall because it gives some nice variety to the set, I do enjoy both. I'm not sure with the upcoming Alpha Bravo on Superion if I'm going to use that, because for me, that's already what the Combiner Wars version is for, and that figure is still great. It's not one that I feel needs an update, but I am going to get Alpha Bravo and I'm going to see how it turns out. Any old movie toys you'd recommend? Plenty. Long Arm, Terror Dive, Mind Wipe and that little jet thing that came with it, Fireburst Optimus Prime, the movie Legends Devastator. I'm still pissed off that my copy of the regular colors got stolen. So many fantastic old movie toys to recommend. Really, you just should jump into it. You know, with me trying to go back and review a lot of older figures, I feel like I should try more of the movie ones as well. I don't have any on my lineup at the moment, but, you know, probably would be a good idea to. What do you fundamentally believe makes a great Transformers show? Just it being good. It doesn't matter what aesthetic it is. It doesn't matter what the writing style is. It doesn't matter whether it's a super serious one or a comedic one. Just what makes a good show makes a good Transformers show. How do you feel about BotCon as a whole? It's a bit of a tough one, to be honest. While it did give us some great redecos and offered adult collectors a lot of great things back when it was a thing, the aftermarket itself these days is just really, really bad. There's so many fantastic figures I would like to get from it, but it's just not really feasible. And then, of course, there's the whole controversy. Of course, the main person around it is not a very nice guy with a lot of what he did, especially. Like, it's one thing to be a bit of a dick with your politics, but it's another thing entirely to push those shitty forms of bigotry onto official Transformers media. And that is what BotCon essentially did, so I don't really hold any remorse for it. Can't wait for the comments to talk about keeping politics out of Transformers, despite the fact it's entirely intertwined with Transformers. There's a context for everything, unless you want to put your fingers in your ears and go, la la la, I don't care. What would you change in Earthspark to make it a better show? I haven't watched the second and third seasons because I kind of don't want to ruin the first one. I don't know if I'll have to watch it at some point, but I'm kind of dreading and I don't really want to. But the one thing I do is just keep the writing team from the first season. That's basically it. Whatever they would do would probably turn out a lot better than giving it to the animation studio of Megamind and the Doom Syndicates. Why? Seriously, why? I want to hear your experience with queerness in the TF community. Until recently, it was a really good experience. There was a lot of support, there were a few idiots, but for the most part, it was a very welcoming community. And that's what I said with the original recording of this I did way back last year. But things have very much changed with the kind of state of the world at the moment, with the way algorithms prioritize the discourse and boost a lot of really disgusting individuals. Pushback and disgust is sort of a daily thing. Every day there's someone being completely bigoted in the comments and saying that I should, think of the viewers, not be open about my sexuality, how dare I? I should hide who I am because I'm just a Transformers reviewer. And honestly, no, f that. I am who I am, and I'm gonna stick around regardless of what happens. Whatever the future holds, however pushback I get, I'm not changing anything. I built my community based on who I was, not who people wanted me to be, and if people get a bit whingy about, oh no, I bring up the fact that I'm queer, well, so be it. One day things will get better again. One day the algorithm will shift back and things will be nice and calm again. But until then, we just kinda gotta keep up the fight. Nothing to be done except be even gayer, I guess. Has there ever been a temporary period in your life where you suddenly became less interested in collecting Transformers or even temporarily quit collecting it? Yes, actually, and I'm not very proud of it. Around the Age of Extinction era, I didn't so much as fall off so much as I deliberately stopped collecting because I believed it was too immature. I was under a lot of pressure from my family at the time to grow up and become more mature, so I switched to what I thought was a more mature hobby with Warhammer 40,000. Yes, I was an Ultra Smurfs player, get over it. But I sort of kept my interest of Transformers Transformers in secret. I'd make a bunch of Lego ones, I'd watch a lot of the reviews back in the day. But I kept my interest in Transformers a secret in order to appear more mature to my family and curry favor from people who didn't offer me a lot of favor. Turns out those people never would have accepted me for me, so I eventually did return to Transformers anyway. As I actually grew and matured, I realized that my love for Transformers is kind of undying, and it gives me kind of a joy that I don't really want to go without. So yeah, eventually I returned to it and slowly tried collecting the things I missed. And starting Dr. Lockdown reviews was part of that process. And ironically, I feel I've matured more as a person through my engagement with this project than I did trying to appease someone who never would have accepted me for who I was. Not just on the Transformers front, but in a whole lot of other things in general. How do you feel about the new style of Hasbro combiners? Really enjoying it. A lot. I've always been a fan of combining parts forming with Transformers. Yes, I feel the skeleton system is a bit overdone in some instances, but for what we've got, it's worked out pretty well. And yeah, eventually they'll probably come out with another system or go back to Scramble City sometime in the future. But for now, we got these, and these are pretty damn good. What combiner would you like to see more of in movies and stuff? As much as he's my least favorite combiner, I really feel Defensor should get more of the spotlight. Like, all the combiners in the films have been Decepticons. If they are going to continue with films, I figure that the Autobots should have at least one combiner on their team, and Superion would just be grey and dull and boring because of all the military contracts. No, not in that way, stupid. I do want to review that because people get really pissed off at my opinion on those, and I feel I need to justify myself a little bit. But no, I feel Defensor would be a great inclusion in the live-action movies, and his design may even make me like the design a lot more. Overall design versus regular design. Grammar is difficult. Jeez, you never guess I was a child of 2 English teachers. What is the most overrated combiner and underrated combiner? And hey, they literally got my favorites right there. Overrated is Superion. I do like Superion, but like it being people's favorite when it's just a bunch of white jets, I don't really see the love for it. It's a good combiner and it makes great figures in both counts, but I don't really see why it's so obsessed over. Underrated would have to be Road Caesar. I never see anyone bringing up Road Caesar, and I really wish we'd have any form of update that's not the TFCC version. But no, nobody ever talks about it, no one ever brings it up. Even Rail Racer gets more love than Road Caesar. Have you ever received a figure of a character you don't care about that ultimately endears the character to you? No, because I separate characters and toys. I hate the depiction of Siege Optimus Prime in the War for Cybertron show. The Netflix rendition is just so edgy and so whingy. It's trying to be a complex character, but it just doesn't have the writing chops to pull it off. Now the Takara Premium Finish version, that toy is a banger. I adore that shit. It's one of my favorite Optimus Prime toys from the Unification era, and those green windows really do fix a lot of my issues with the original toy. So who cares if the show is kind of eh? The toy's great. Which bot turned power upgrade, God Bomber, God Magnus, Tidal Wave, etc. do you think did it best? Jetfire's my name! I've been enamored with this design ever since I discovered the hidden compatibility on the Legends version. And yes, I know that he's basically sacrificing himself to do it, but just this kind of power-up is something that I don't feel will ever be matched. Yeah, I've got a lot of nostalgia for Revenge of the Fallen. What of it? What made you fall in love with Transformers? The family rented the 2007 movie for me when it first came on DVD, back when DVD rental places were still a thing. I'm pretty sure the person who owned that DVD rental place became an anti-vaxxer crusader, and then she fell off the face of the planet, but I could be mistaken on that front. But yeah, I watched the 07 movie on DVD. My family hated it, but I loved it, every minute of it. Just the idea that those big fancy special effects could have character to them. I then bought 07 Legends Blackout and fell in love with the toys. Kept collecting Legends toys, I kept collecting more toys. I started watching every series that was available on the Hasbro website, which was pretty much all of them. And yeah, the rest is history. Has Times Return Trigger Happy been dethroned as your favorite deluxe? I don't have one favorite per se, I sort of have a group of favorites that are all really good. So he hasn't been dethroned, he's more been added to. With the Persona music you use in videos, do you have a particular favorite soundtrack or game from the franchise? Yeah, call me basic, but my favorite is still 5 Royal. It hit me at a certain time in my life where I was going through a lot of mental anguish and kind of put a lot of things into perspective. My favorite soundtrack though would likely be Sophia's Shop from the Strikers game. Never finished that game as it got a bit boring towards the middle with a lot of its repetitive gameplay. I know Muso type games are a bit harder to keep fresh than turn-based combat. Never let anyone tell you turn-based combat is boring. It's very strategic and you gotta put the f***ing effort into it. But funny thing, I don't actually use Persona music in videos anymore because they've become almost draconian with how they strike videos now. Used to be quite safe, but not anymore. So it's been removed from rotation, which is very unfortunate because I really like a lot of that music. How often have you given leeway to a mediocre or bad figure just because of the deco? I feel like this question misses kind of the point of a lot of criticism. Whether a figure is mediocre isn't separate from the deco. The deco is an aspect that goes into whether it's mediocre or not. If it's got a mediocre conversion and the robot's just kind of but the deco is fantastic, then that's no longer a mediocre figure. That's just a figure that doesn't have an amazing transformation, but a great deco. You kind of got to take into account all aspects of a figure. Paint, sculpts, build quality, articulation, conversion, alt mode. It's all different factors that make a figure good or bad. So I don't think a figure can be mediocre if the deco is so bloody fantastic. Well, I mean, unless every other aspect is so terrible that it balances out. But you know what I mean. Who would win, Crumbs or Unicron? Unicron's getting fucking stomped. What's your least favorite video game boss fight? I'm kind of glad I left this question so long because... Run! Missiles! Out of the way, out of the way, out of the way! Move, bitch! Get out the way! Get out the way, bitch! I lost all my health! Move, bitch! Get out the way! Get out the way, bitch! Ah! How did you discover Xenoblade? Two people consistently recommended me the 3DS version. One of them you've actually seen on this channel before. The other one was an old friend from Mock Pages, and they kept bringing it up again and again and again and again. And then it went on sale on half price for like an E3 sale on the 3DS, which is not something Nintendo really does anymore these days. So I begged my aunt if I could borrow a bit of cash for it, and I paid for it, and then realized I didn't have enough space on the 3DS, so I ended up having to buy another SD card anyway. I tried it for the first time, loved it, but I got up to the Zord fight without actually realizing that I needed to properly have the Monado charge up to work. So I fell off, but then I gave it another shot. I tried again, and I got up to Aerith C without properly grinding, so I was very underleveled. And I thought, oh, I'm not going to grind, I'm going to put it on break. And then I came back to it again and started engaging in the side quests. And that put me at a more manageable level, although I think part of the problem was I was just still relying on Shulk, Ryan, and Shala without really experimenting with anyone else. And from there, I kept going, and eventually I finished the game on a trip back from Santorini to Athens on a ferry, and I figured if I don't finish the game now, I'm never going to finish it, because I'll just keep playing it forever and ever and ever. And yeah, from that point on, it was my favorite game of all time. What is the easiest part in your video making process? I don't think there's an easiest part per se. Sometimes it's the scripting, sometimes it's the graphics. I guess it would be going through and adding all the stabilization and color correction, just because I copy paste, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, it really depends on the process. And oh, I think I've recorded the remaining questions. Woohoo! It's finally done after 3 fucking tries. Hell yeah! Anywho, thank you for being a part of this channel for these past 10 years. You've really helped it become what it is. Unless you're just joining for the first time, at which point, hello, I hope you stick around. Anywho, that is it from me. I hope I've answered enough questions and enlightened y'all onto the review process and my own inner workings of my mind. I've got plenty of great projects in the works, more than you actually realize, and I'm just gonna get on with those. But until then, catch ya later. See ya! Thank you for 10 years, and thanks for everyone for sticking around. Bye-bye!